In keeping with the Halloween theme this month, let's talk about near-death experiences. Stay with me tonight. This is Nightly Haven. Follow me on the trail as we see what is beyond. Fear tingles down your spine and hairs stand on end. Mysteries unknown and tales in the dark. Are you ready? Hello? There's a moment when the body stops, the heart ceases its rhythm, and the brain falls silent. And yet, consciousness continues. Some call it near-death experience. Some call it a glimpse of eternity. Tonight we journey through that threshold, through stories of people who have died and people that have come back to tell what lies beyond. Now, Dr. Mary Neal was a surgeon trained to doubt anything she couldn't measure. Her world was steel instruments, spinal columns, and anatomy textbooks, not angels and afterlife, until one afternoon on a Chichilling river changed everything she believed about dying. Now, she and her friends were kayaking a narrow gorge when her craft tipped. The current slammed her beneath the waterfall, wedging her body against a boulder. She felt her ribs compress and her lungs begging for air. Seconds became minutes. Mary's mind screamed, "I'm going to die," but the panic faded, replaced by a calm so complete it felt foreign, like someone had switched off the human instinct to fight. "I remember the sounds stopping," she would later say. "No water, no heartbeat, just stillness, and a love that had texture." She sensed herself drifting upward, breaking free of the weight of her body. Below, she saw her limp form pinned under the kayak, bubbles escaping in slow spirals. Above her, a soft golden mist thickened into light, alive and intelligent. Shapes emerged, silhouettes radiating color, neither male nor female, yet deeply familiar. They spoke without words, communicating through feeling. "You're going home," one of them said, not with a voice, but with vibration. Mary realized she wasn't breathing, yet she was more alive than ever. She looked back once more, her friends frantically clawing at the kayak, unaware she was watching from somewhere else. The beings surrounded her like a family long lost. They guided her along a path that wasn't a path at all, more a current of brilliance, drawing her towards a great radiance ahead. Every molecule seemed to sing. There was no time, only presence. And then came knowledge, instant, absolute. She understood everything in the universe was connected, and that love was the structure holding it all together. She felt the memory of every kindness she'd ever given, everyone withheld. Beyond the horizon of the light, she sensed an even greater presence, a consciousness vast and warm, a homecoming. But the being stopped her. "You can't stay. You have work to do. Your son will need you." She resisted. She didn't want to return to pain, gravity, limitations, yet the moment she thought of her children, a force pulled her backwards. The light collapsed, rushing into darkness. And then, in a violent jolt, as the air filled her lungs, hands were on her chest, voices shouting. She coughed river water and opened her eyes to a world suddenly smaller. Later, as a surgeon herself, she reviewed the medical notes. She had been underwater more than 15 minutes, impossible survival, but she knew the impossible had happened. "I brought back the certainty that death is not the ending," she told interviewers. "It's a transition. We're loved beyond measure." A doctor who trusted only data became a witness to something science couldn't quantify. The feeling of being home in a place no instrument can detect. Now, Pam Reynolds was a singer, a mother, a woman full of life, who faced a situation almost no human experiences: complete clinical death during brain surgery. Her heart had stopped, her brain waves flattened, and her body cooled to near frozen state. 15 minutes passed with no pulse, no heartbeat, no measurable life. She felt herself rising, weightless, leaving the tubes, the machines, the sterile sense of the antiseptic behind. From above, she saw her own body sprawled across the operating table. Surgeons moved with precision, discussing procedures, unaware that she could see them as if floating inches above. I could hear conversations, she later said. I could see instruments on the ceiling, even the song playing in the room. I remember it perfectly, and I had no eyes, no biological reason to see any of it. As she floated, a tunnel appeared, a corridor, shimmering white gold light that pulsed like a living heartbeat. The tunnel seemed to breathe. It called her forward. I didn't want to go, she said. The peace was absolute, but voices, gentle, loving, familiar, whispered my name. Pam felt hands, not physical hands, but warmth, guidance, pulling her through the light. She saw relatives who had died long ago, standing beside her and smiling. There was no fear, no confusion, only love. The beings communicated in an unspoken language, transferring understanding directly into her mind. She felt her life's connection, the ripple of every choice, every act of kindness, every moment of pain she had caused or endured. It was infinite. I could feel everything, every consequence, every joy, every sorrow, and yet it was filled with understanding, not judgment. Then a presence appeared, more immense, more radiant than anything she had ever known, and it was love itself enveloping her consciousness, communicating without words. It told me, it's not your time, you must return. A sudden jolt, the machines beeped again, hands pressed on her chest, air rushed into her lungs. She woke into the sterile smell of the operating room. The doctors leaning over her, confused. She was alive. 15 minutes of clinical death, and she had witnessed something beyond any scientific explanation. A woman who should have been clinically dead returned with knowledge, sight, awareness beyond mortal limits. She had seen the impossible, and it had changed her forever. Betty Eadie, a woman on the brink of death from severe blood loss, described stepping into a world saturated with light. She felt no weight, no fear, only an encompassing warmth. As she drifted, figures of luminous energy appeared, one radiant and unconditionally loving, introducing as Christ. Not in a figure as humans might imagine, but as the embodiment of love and understanding. He smiled at me, Betty recalled, and it was like every fear I had ever known melted away. He showed me landscapes filled with color beyond description, rivers glowing with energy, gardens that hummed with light. She floated through the realm, absorbing lessons about compassion, forgiveness, and the consequence of human action. The insight was instantaneous, overwhelming, and yet comforting. I saw the impact of my life, the choices I had made, she said, not as a punishment, but as an understanding. The love there was infinite. I didn't want to leave. The presence told her she must return. Her life was not yet finished. Her family was waiting. Resistance filled her, a longing to remain in that perfect light, but she obeyed, feeling herself drawn back through a corridor of brilliance, returning to the confines of her physical body. Now, Betty returned to the world with a transformed understanding of life, purpose, and love. The certainty that beyond this life exists a realm of infinite understanding and connection. Howard Storm, A college professor and atheist, found himself dying in a Paris hospital. His consciousness left his body only to descend into darkness. He encountered beings of shadow, creatures that radiated hatred, speaking in tones of mockery and despair. I felt the cold of absolute rejection, he said. They tore at me with words and sensation. I thought I would be consumed entirely. In desperation became his only tool. He cried out, "Jesus, save me!" A brilliant light appeared, dispersing the shadows. It coalesced into a radiant figure, not of this world, yet familiar. Warmth, love, and an indescribable peace filled Howard's senses. It was love itself, he recalled. It was Jesus. It's not a myth, but a presence that existed beyond human comprehension. Every pain vanished in that light. He was guided back to his body, awakening to the sterile hospital, forever changed. Fear replaced by purpose, skepticism replaced by certainty. The darkness was real, but the light was internal, and it transformed Howard forever. Crystal McVea flatlined for 9 minutes during cardiac arrest. Her body lay still, yet her consciousness rose into a space saturated with light. She encountered a being of warmth whose eyes seemed to see every sorrow she had ever endured. I knew immediately it was Jesus, she said, and every ache of my soul was soothed. Every worry, every fear, I felt it dissolve in his presence. She was shown the interconnections of her life, her family, the consequences of her actions. Love radiated from every fiber of being before her. A force that was intelligent, warmth, and home all at once. I did not want to leave, she recalls, but he told me, "Go back, your work is not done." Her body revived, yet she carried the memory of the realm of light as tangible truth, transforming her life forever. Ian McCormack, stung by a lethal box jellyfish, slipped into clinical death. His consciousness floated above his body, moving through the corridor of life that seemed alive. A voice asked me if I would forgive my enemies, he said. I felt every anger, every bitterness evaporate. I said yes, and then I was pulled back. The presence he encountered radiated unconditional love, understanding, and a sense of ultimate purpose. He woke with a profound respect for life and an unshakable belief in the reality of the afterlife. Are you guys seeing a pattern here? Now, Vicky Umapeg, born blind. I'll say it again. Born blind. Experienced visions for the first time during an near-death experience, or NDE. Colors beyond description, shapes and forms she had never known, and the faces of deceased relatives welcomed her. I could see everything, she said. The room, the doctors, the machine. I could feel it all as I've always known. Dr. Kenneth Ring documented another blind case with identical results. These accounts defy explanation by biology alone, hinting at consciousness independent of physical senses. And I was watching her. She was also talking about how the blind woman thought that she could see 360 all the way around her. And the doctor tried to explain to her that, no, we only see, this way. Which tells me that there's no eyeballs. So you can see everything all around you. And that is a constant, another pattern with this many peoples with near-death experiences will say. Pastor Don Piper, crushed in a car accident, experienced 90 minutes of his life after death. He walked through gates of light, hearing music unlike anything earthly. Deceased loved ones greeted him, and he encountered Jesus in a presence radiating peace and understanding. Colors, music, and love beyond comprehension, he said. I felt at home in a way no living moment could provide. He returned to the living world with a renewed sense of purpose and understanding of love as a center force of reality. Anita Morjani, dying of cancer, found herself in a realm where pain, fear, and separation no longer existed. Awareness expanded indefinitely. I understood that fear was an illusion, she recalled. Love is the essence of reality. I knew I had to return, but I was whole, complete, and unafraid. Her return transformed her health and her perception of life, proving the power of consciousness beyond the body. Now, science has long tried to explain near-death experiences, or NDEs. Some call them hallucinations, products of the dying brain, temporal lobe activity, oxygen deprivation, or the release of DMT during trauma are often cited. Yet there are moments that defy explanation, cases where witnesses report accurate perception from impossible vantage points. Surgical procedures they could not have known, objects hidden from view, conversations they could not have heard. Consciousness may continue beyond physical death, says Dr. Sam Parnia, who studies cardiac arrest patients. People report awareness, perception, even memory while clinically dead. Dr. Bruce Grayson adds, these experiences can result in measurable transformation. People become more loving, less fearful, and profoundly changed. Blind patients perceive sight, others report knowledge impossible to obtain through sensory input alone. The data suggests that consciousness may not be fully bound to the body. Science scratches the surface, but what these individuals experience hints at something larger, a reality beyond the measurable, beyond the confines of matter, where love and awareness persist beyond physical demise. Those who return from the brink of death carry gifts, a shift in perspective, an increase in empathy, a profound loss of fear. Their purpose becomes sharper, though more loving. Many describe the life review, a panorama of every action, thought, and ripple of influence throughout existence. I felt every act of love ripple through eternity, one witness said. I understood every hurt I had caused, every joy I had shared. It was not judgment, it was understanding, connection, and love. Life beyond the veil, these returns say, it's not a distant place, but a state of consciousness where everything is felt, known, understood in infinite depth. We fear death. We fear the unknown, and yet countless souls have crossed that threshold and returned to tell us that fear is not the end, that beyond the veil lies love without limit, awareness without end, a connection that transcends comprehension. We're loves beyond measure, one witness returned said. Always, even when we cannot perceive it. The stories covered a tunnel of light, a loving presence, a life review, guidance, and a choice to return. Whether the figure is called Jesus, a guide, or a being of pure light, the experience is remarkably consistent. We leave with the question hanging, unanswerable yet profound. Is there more after this? Perhaps the answer is not in knowledge, but in feeling. The certainty that consciousness, love, and connection continue internally beyond the final heartbeat. The light waits, and one day we may step into it ourselves. Bye.